Minister, I want to ask you to outline the discussions and the engagements that you have had with farming organisations with respect to proposed changes to nitrates limits for derogation farmers from the period 1st of January 2023 to date. And I want to point out, I suppose, that there are concerns that this will inevitably lead to a reduction in herd numbers. And there's at least 6,900 derogation farmers affected. And obviously, assurances to date from government have not alleviated the serious concerns and anxieties of these derogation farmers.
Yeah, thanks for this morning, Deputy Nolan. And last year we secured renewal of our nitrous derogation, which is covering the period from 2022 to 2025. And as part of that approval, the European Commission attached increased conditionality to the derogation, the granting of it, including a requirement that we would conduct a 2-year water quality review. Their implementing decision states that where water quality is poor or where worsening trends occur over the period 2021 and 2022, then the maximum stocking rate must reduce from 250 kilos of organic nitrogen livestock manure per hectare to 220 from January of next year. Affected farmers then, in that instance, would have 3 choices to bring their stocking rate in line with the new lower limit if they were farming at a rate between 220 and 250. And those 3 options would be obtaining more land, exporting nutrients to other farms, or reducing livestock numbers. And that is something in that situation which farmers will have to look at to adjust if they were in that range. The Department have had a number of meetings with farm organisations and industry representatives on this topic this year, because I'm very aware of the pressure and the concern that farmers have in relation to this. And discussions with stakeholders in this commenced actually in spring of last year, and since then I, along with officials, have worked to communicate the risks associated with this conditionality that was attached to our derogation, and the need for us as a country to show significant improvements in water quality if we're to maintain our nitrous derogation as well in the long term. The Government very much recognises that farmers have made significant and continue to make significant efforts to address water quality. The challenge for us all really is that the level of nutrients in many of our water courses remains too high, as evidenced by the reports from the Environmental Protection Agency. But I have established, Deputy Nolan, an agricultural water quality working group with all farm representatives on it, so that we can work together on this issue in the short term to try and achieve flexibilities with regard to the mid-term review, and then in the more medium term to ensure that we retain and get a renewal of our nitrous derogation post-2025.
Minister, and I just want to say I see little point in being deliberately adversarial on this point, and so I do acknowledge that you have agreed with the European Commission to an interim review on the Nitrates Action Programme 2023, but this still means, however, that we would default to a maximum limit under the derogation, as you pointed out, to 220 kg, and that of course is down from 250 kg from January 2024. Indeed, we know from the research conducted by Teagasc that one of the reasons that Ireland's nitrates derogation is in the firing line is because of recent declines in water quality, and that makes it more difficult to secure future derogations. But as the IFA and others have pointed out, this interim review will only be based on comparing water quality between 2021 and 2022, and I have met the IFA myself and discussed this very point. Will you accept that this is flawed, since measures coming into place in 2022 and 2023 will not have had a chance to improve water quality? And clearly there's a recognition that farmers need additional time. Now, you did mention a working group, but will you support the IFA and other farming organisations in seeking a review from the Commission to revisit this? Because we do need to give them more flexibility and more time.
So listen, we're working together, Deputy Nolan, to try and seek extra time, and I've brought together everyone in the sector into that working group, and it's the first time there's ever been a working group on this issue, so that we pool ideas and pool resources for what is the real challenge of maintaining our derogation. And my team has already engaged with the Commission with regard to flexibilities. We'll be engaging further over the course of this month. There'll also be a meeting of that working group very shortly to get ideas from all of the farm representatives organisations as to how we can actually put together the case that will give us the best chance of getting those flexibilities. And then medium term, the role of that working group is to make sure that we make the improvements over the next 2 or 3 years in water quality that actually gives us the platform to have our nitrous derogation renewed. Because you make the fair point that, listen, some of the increased steps we've taken in the last year, 18 months, 2 years, to improve water quality will take a little bit of time to show those results. But that's the challenge at European level is that we've had a derogation for a long time, and over the time we have had, having that derogation, actually our water quality hasn't been improving. And also, in terms of the level of nitrogen we've been using, that hasn't been reducing. So therefore, getting that derogation from other member states against that backdrop becomes challenging when that is the background here. But it speaks to the need to double down in relation to everybody working together to improve water quality as we go step forward.
Minister, look, I think, engagement is one thing, but look, it has to be made very, very clear to the EU Commission, by yourself as Minister for Agriculture, and indeed by the Irish MEPs, that farmers need more time and more flexibility here. There has to be fairness. In terms of water quality, I do notice that the finger is always pointed at farmers. Now, in my own constituency, I have seen instances where there's been no farm activity and where it's been down to poor sewerage systems, and where Irish Water have actually been responsible for some instances. So I don't think it's right to penalise farmers on the water quality issue, which is obviously related to this very issue. I feel that government needs to be fair about this, and I'm sure you will agree as Minister for Agriculture that it's not farmers all of the time that are to blame, and that there's a bigger picture here in terms of water quality. So then they should not be penalised. And we have to make a case to the EU Commission. Our farming is very important to our economy, to our local economy, and it needs to be defended and protected, and farmers can't be made scapegoats of.
There's multiple issues which affect water quality, and certainly wastewater from towns and villages and from sewerage is a key part of that, mainly contributing to the phosphorus side. The biggest challenge from the nitrate side does come from agriculture, Deputy Nolan. I think that will be recognised by all. So while we have to address the phosphorus side and the sewage side, which is a real problem, we also have to as well address the nitrate side in terms of agriculture. And listen, to be clear, it's not about saying the Minister needs to go out and thump the table with the Commission, or take a hard line, and if the Minister would just do that, then we'll keep our derogation. This is not something that's within our gift. We have to go out there, and we will seek to get this. But it's wrong for anyone to be complacent simply by the government banging the table enough that we'll continue to get it. The reality is we have a challenge in that we haven't delivered over the last 10 years in relation to improving water quality or in relation to meeting the targets under the Nitrous Directive. That has put us in a challenging situation at the moment. We now have to work together to make sure we reverse those trends, and we work together to make sure because the reality is if we don't, come 24-25, securing the derogation again will become a big challenge.
Thank you, Minister. Now that completes priority.